Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Thursday, December the 23rd, 2021. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am really looking forward to going over this incredibly complicated but fun 11-game NBA slate for this evening. There are no games on Christmas Eve in the NBA, so we've got this terrific 11-game slate today, off on Christmas Eve, and then, of course, the 5 feature games on Christmas Day. If they all stay, and with all of the COVID stuff going on, hopefully they all remain. We also have a giveaway tomorrow. If you're a member, you're in a drawing for a $50 PayPal or entry ticket to a contest. We will send that to you tomorrow so you can enjoy that on Christmas Day. So if you haven't become a member yet and you want to try us out, jump in with our 12 days of Christmas offering, because you get 12 full days, all access of everything we've got here at Coach Talk for $12. So that offer ends in 2 days on midnight on Christmas Day. So if you haven't done it, it's now time to push that button. Just go again to dfscoachtalk.com and you can sign up right there. All right, interesting news with the NBA, everything constantly changing. As I mentioned recently, as difficult as it is and as busy as it is for us getting prepared, there's no doubt that it gives us an edge, because we're looking at really the in-depth aspects of all of these new players signed on these 10-day contracts, and how it's going to mix in with rotations, coaches' tendencies, just all of the intangibles that are very hard to measure. We do still use analytics and crunchers and prediction of ownership and usage, and you name it, we're factoring it in. But the edge that we have is what we do here at Coach Talk is we hand build lineups. We feel the 98% of people that play DFS are playing 1 or 2, maybe 3 lineups max, and cherry picking the contests that they're getting into. A lot of times when you're looking at these optimizer or listening to some of the other providers, which are excellent, but a lot of them are looking at the 150 max entry, spending 20, 30 grand a night, which if you're listening and you can do that, more power to you. But I think you're in, that 1% or less. So what we're trying to do here, and you'll see it on this slate, is we're going to break it down. We're going to look at some of the key statistical areas and talk about what we see coming. And then if you join us in our Discord, we'll follow the news throughout the day very, very closely. And then we will post a Draftkings coaches clipboard, which are 5 highlighted players with a group of other folks to pick from. And then you'll get a full cash lineup on both Yahoo and FanDuel, and a full GPP lineup on both as well. So hopefully we're the spot for you. We'd love to have you join us. If not, we still appreciate you listening to our podcasts each day. We do a 7-day-a-week NBA podcast, 3 days for the NFL. So we've got it going here at Coach Talk, and join the family. We have definitely the best community in the industry. It's amazing, positive, back each other up, and doing well. Last night was phenomenal. We had winners on all 3 sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. A nice takedown on Yahoo, and both the cash hybrid and the GPP lineups cashed. So catch us while we're hot. I know this is hard work right now getting prepared for these slates, but it's worth it. It is awesome, and it is worth it. We're going to dive into these 11 games. We're not going to take any breaks. We're just going to fire through all of them because I don't want to take too much time. I know everybody's still scrambling to prepare for Christmas here in 2 days. So if you're, still working and listening at work or on the move, getting some of your Christmas stuff, be careful. Watch what you're doing out there. It is a lot of traffic, a lot of people moving around. So hopefully while you're doing that, you can catch some of this podcast and get ready for tonight's games. Again, like I say, it's an 11-game slate. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Real quickly, if you're watching right now on YouTube, quick thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and give us a quick comment. Any little comment will do, or if you have a question, that's a perfect place to put the question. And that really helps us move up the algorithm. So we appreciate that. And while you're at it, hit that little alarm button in the upper right corner. That'll let you know when any of our podcasts post. We do have a great giveaway. If you like and retweet our wins from last night on Twitter, we're at DFS CoachTalk on Twitter. There will be a three-day membership that's given away at the end of the day. All right, here we go, my friends. No messing around. This is the real ticket. We're going after this. 11 games and small amount of news. So what I would say this, last thing I'll say, and then I'm not going to go any further. If you can't follow what's going on here and you can't make the changes and you can't see the news that's going on, and even somewhat during the slate, there are some changes at time to time, this probably isn't the best time to play DFS for you. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, Coach, what you're telling us not to play DFS? No, I'm saying if you just try to throw a lineup in there late afternoon and then just let it ride, it's not going to go well. I mean, there's so many changes that are happening, signings, people being ruled out. Follow us here at DFS Coach Talk. Let us do that work for you. And then keep an eye on it, because you don't want to get stuck with anybody that just got ruled out. You don't want to try to play some new 10-day guy that's not going to get in the game. So, this is an important time. It is prime. This is my favorite time to play DFS. Again, I think we have a bigger edge than anybody because we're handling these things, one by one. But if you can't and you're busy, you got family stuff going, just take the night off, pick it back up when you have time. So that's just my advice, because, you don't want the GIF here where they're shoveling money into the furnace. So this is where we're going to make the money, but you got to have a little bit of time to dedicate to getting it done. All right, here we go. 7 o'clock, New Orleans Pelicans, Orlando Magic. New Orleans favored by 5.5. It's a 208.5 total. Pelicans 107 implied. Orlando is 101.5. Coming into the game, the Pels are 11-21. Orlando is 7-25. This is what we have to this point. Again, it's morning. You got to follow it as the day goes on. Out for the Pelicans, Luzada, Valanciunas, and Zion Williamson. So you've got Valanciunas out. For Orlando, we have another questionable tag on the same two guys we had a questionable tag on yesterday. That's Cole Anthony and Wendell Carter Jr. They were both questionable yesterday and did not play, so we'll follow that news. After that, here we go. Out, Bamba, Brazdeikis, MCW, Fultz, Hampton, Isaac, Moore, Mulder, Ross, Suggs, and Mo Wagner. So, very similar to last night, a boatload of guys out. And it is the second night of a back-to-back for Orlando. So that doesn't help matters. It is an island game for the Pelicans. It's not a first night of a back-to-back for anybody. The entire league is off on Christmas Eve. All right, as far as statistically speaking in this game, we've got the Pels 18th in pace and Orlando 16th. So, a little below average, but we do have two lousy defenses. Pelicans 25 and Orlando 28. So 208.5 is very low. I think a big reason for that is just so many guys out. But for two teams that play, bottom five defense, that number seems a little bit low. And I think there are some one-offs here that you can consider. Devontae Graham's only 5'5". You can use your pay up here for Brandon Ingram at 9'6". Josh Hart's been steady at 6'2". You also can go, if you want to go bargain basement at center, you do have Willie Hernan Gomez at 3.8. And he shows up. His points per minute are very solid when he does get the minutes. So he's definitely an option, even on a giant slate like this, if you really want to buy down at center. On the Orlando side, if Anthony and Carter Jr. are out again, so we'll assume that right now since they didn't play yesterday, but it changes everything if they do play. Gravett did a nice job at 3.7. Hassani Gravett was the starting point guard last night, and he got to his number. He's only 3.7, but that's only if Anthony doesn't play. Mo Wagner was tough, 7.4. If those guys are out, he's definitely in play for me. He played pseudo point guard the whole time. Really, when Gravett wasn't bringing it up, Wagner was initiating the offense. So you got a big guy like that with his hands on the ball. He's super dangerous. Chuma Okeke, I mean, he's gotten it done for me every time I've played him, and he's only 5'1", and he's a go-to guy offensively, no question about it. With those two guys out, he becomes almost a lock and load for me. But if Anthony and Carter are in, it's a different story. Robin Lopez, he got there at 4.5, and I thought that he did a nice job. I will say I'm not as high on Gravett if Anthony doesn't play still, because Tim Frazier got a decent amount of minutes at point. He's the 3K min. If for some reason Anthony's out and Frazier starts over Gravett, Frazier's worth a play. I mean, he's through the years. I remember watching him at Penn State and then with the Pelicans and had several cups of coffee in the NBA. He's always been a points per minute DFS kind of guy as a little point guard. So keep him in mind if the dominoes fall in any particular way. Wouldn't go with Admiral Schofield. He's going to show that he did well yesterday. He hit some threes, and he's in the rotation if they're shorthanded. But he had proven with the Celtics for a long time that he's just not a strong DFS player and too risky with 22 teams playing and all these different combinations of guys. You can be pretty picky. All right, game 2. Houston Rockets, Indiana Pacers. It's also a 7 o'clock game. Indiana is a 9-point favorite. 221 is the total. 106 implied for Houston, 115 for the Indiana Pacers. Houston comes in at 10-22. Indiana at 13-19. It is the second night of a back-to-back for Houston. Indiana's got an island game. As far as injuries go, we may get Jalen Green back. He's actually listed as probable. So that is something definitely we want to watch because that changes a lot with Houston. Kevin Porter and John Wall remain out. For the Pacers, Malcolm Brogdon questionable, so that's huge news. And we know McConnell and Warren are out. So these teams have not been hit hard by the COVID situation. We'll get some normal runs from a lot of these guys. As far as statistically, Houston, 9th in the league in pace. Indiana, 19th. Defensive efficiency, Houston's second worst in the league, and Indiana's 17th. So we do have some potential for some good scores here, and that's why it's a 221 number. If Green's in with no restrictions, 4.9, not a bad price, but I would be very cautious. After that, you just, Christian Wood at 8.6 has been solid. He's back and playing, but it is the second night of a back-to-back. He had a sore knee yesterday. He came out of the game early, and he had a gigantic ice wrap on it. So I am crossing Christian Wood off my list. And for that, and again, that's unofficial, and we'll have to wait for that news, but that makes Şengün a possible play for me today at 5.7. I think that if Wood doesn't go, he's going to get extended minutes, and we know he could score DFS points for sure. So that's my target there. Little skittish with Gordon, Matthews, Tate. Those guys are all very low price, mid price, but just too dangerous, too volatile, maybe GPPs at best. On the Indiana side, looks like if if Brogdon is out, we may have a Brad Wanamaker start again. And he's, you could consider him just because he's only 3-2. Remember, there's 9 million value plays on this slate with all the guys out. So I don't know if you really have to go there, but he's a decent player. If he's going to get big run at 3-2, you got to at least think about it. LeVert at 7-7 becomes more in play because with Brogdon off the floor, LeVert does handle the ball a lot more. And then if you want to pay up, Sabonis was off of the last game at 10-1, so I was a little disappointed there. And Miles Turner at 6-7. I don't think those are going to be targets. I think I'd rather go the LeVert direction or Duarte. If Duarte happens to start, we need to follow that news because he's 5K. So something to look at there. Okay, the third 7 o'clock game, it's the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly's a double-digit favorite here at -10, and implied for Atlanta 101.25, for Philly 111.25, and it is the second night of a back-to-back for Atlanta, and they are hit pretty hard with the COVID stuff. It is an island game, however, for Philly. Atlanta comes in at 14-16, Philly at 16-15. Here are the guys that are already determined out for Atlanta: Capella, Gallinari, Herter, Hunter, TLC, Lou Williams, and Trae Young. So they are definitely not at full strength by any stretch of the imagination. For Philly, the guys already out: Drummond, Danny Green, Milton, Niang, and Simmons. So at least we have a good feel for now, unless things change, on who's in and who's out. So looking at this, you've got two teams that are slow-paced, 24th and 28th. So that doesn't help. That's why you're seeing a 212.5 total. But two teams that have not torn it up on defense either. 24th for Atlanta, 18th for Philadelphia, which is very unlike them, but they've been missing guys throughout the season. Right now, you've got a lot of opportunity here for Atlanta with value. You can really choose who you want. DeLon Wright, I was able to avoid him last night. He did make a run in the fourth quarter to make his numbers respectable, but I'm not sure I want to risk that. Maybe GPP play. Skylar Mays, 3K, not exactly a comforting spot, even though he's starting. The guy that went absolutely nuts last night was a big part of the winners we put out at Coach Talk was Cam Reddish. He had a career high game, and he's only 4.6 and should be the go-to guy again. So I think he'll be massively popular and, rightfully so. I ran him with John Collins, and I may do the same thing again tonight. John Collins is only 7-3, and with everybody else out, really Reddish and Collins are going to have usage off the charts because you're going to get some DeLon Wright, Skylar Mays, Gorgie Jeng, Lance Stevenson blowing in people's ears. Okongwu is going to get time, and then Bogdanovich got time, but he was on a minutes restriction yesterday. I can't imagine they're going to push him hard on a back-to-back when he's just coming back from injury. So, it's going to be Reddish and Collins all you can eat for me, and I think it's going to be like that pretty much across the industry, but it's hard to get away from. You've got a much more normal rotation for Philly. Joel Embiid's 12K. Don't know if I want to bite that giant number, especially with Atlanta so shorthanded. It's a double-digit favoritism for Philly. So I think there's definitely some risk with Embiid. He was the high scorer for me the other night when I had him, so I know he's playing at a really good level. But and he also doesn't have Drummond backing him up. So it is tempting. I don't believe I'm going to go there. If you want to, though, you can. There's enough value you can find to get to that point. Other possibilities, Maxey at 6-7. You've got Korkmaz. If he's going to start and give big minutes, he's 3-4. That's an option. Tobias is creeped up to 9-2, which is a little too high for me. And that's really as far as I want to go there. All right, game 4, we're moving to a 7:30 game with a very small total here. It's Miami double-digit favorite by 10. The total's only 203.5. However, both teams are on an island game. That helps a little bit. Implied total for Detroit is just a paltry 96.75. For Miami, it's 106.75. In this game, Detroit comes in 5-25. The Heat are 19-13. Questionable for Detroit is Frank Jackson. Out already, you've got Cunningham, so that's a huge chunk of usage that goes to somebody. And Jeremy Grant and Kelly Olynyk, those guys are out. We already know the guys out for Miami. It's going to be Bam, Butler, Martin, Morris, Oladipo, and Tucker. So yes, both teams sliced and diced here by the horrible thing called COVID, but it does make for some really good plays. We've got pace-wise, Detroit is 11th, Miami only 27th. So pace down for Detroit, pace up for Miami. Defensively, Detroit's only 23rd defensively, Miami 7th. This game is somewhat terrifying because of all of the things I just said, basically. But you do have somebody from Detroit having to pick up all this slack. It's been Saddiq Bey of late. He somehow was horrible for the majority of the season. The last 2 or 3 games, somebody woke him up, and he's only 6'7", and I am going to consider him just because of, I think that most of the offense is going to go to him. I mean, you've got Killian Hayes and Corey Joseph in the backcourt, both sub 4K. So, you can at least look at them. Diallo, the same thing at 4.4, but lots of risk with all those guys. But if those 3 are all in play to me as far as a consideration, especially if Frank Jackson is out, because with Frank Jackson and Saban Lee coming in for Hayes, Joseph, and Diallo, it can get a little bit too muddied. But Saddiq Bey's minutes are safe. I think Isaiah Stewart at only 5-1 is very cheap, a buy-down option. But again, one-off here at best for me in a game that's really not conducive to good NBA DFS points. Kyle Lowry at 8.5 is the last man standing, basically, for the studs at Miami. I don't know if I want to pay that price for him, though, in a game that could blow out. It's very possible. Gabe Vincent's been steady and getting really good minutes at 5.5. Duncan Robinson, again, he's points. You got to really count on him scoring real points. But at 4.9, he's very capable of doing this. Max Strus got there for me at 5.2. He really is a nice play. I think he's a dangerous play because he can do a little bit of everything. Dwayne Dedmon, again, another buy-down center. We've got so many buy-down centers, it's crazy. And then you've got 2 other guys. The reason I'm probably not going Dedmon is Yurtseven came in, played a lot of minutes, and did very well. He's 4.2, but I'm a little bit afraid that might be a trap, so I'm probably not going to go there. I think he's going to get a decent amount of attention, but if the game does blow out, he could be a phenomenal play because he'll get all the mop-up minutes, not Dedmon. So, if you really see this game, blowing out, then that could be an option. But I don't think it's going to be as bad just because Miami's dinged up as well. Certainly not as bad as Detroit, but pretty darn close. So that's really what I'm looking at there. And then the guy that I didn't mention, Tyler Hero, he's only 6'8", and he's a guy, even coming off the bench, as we always know that's what they like to do with him. He can blow up a slate. So at 6'8", you got to at least put him in the conversation for sure. All right, we have another 7:30 game. It's the Washington Wizards and New York Knicks. Washington only favored by 1. It's a 210.5 total. You've got 105.75 implied for Washington, 104.75 for the New York Knicks. The Wizards come in at 16-15. The Knicks at 14-17. As far as designations here, Rui Hachimura questionable, so we may get him back, probably on some kind of minutes limit, though, so I'm not going to even consider that. We know Bryant and Caldwell Pope remain out. But really, Washington's got most of their studs going. So that's something to keep track of. Knicks not as fortunate. They do have probable tags on Barrett, Grimes, and Knox. So they could be getting a handful of guys back. Guys that are out are Noel, Quickly, and Rose. Rose is going to be out for quite some time. He had surgery. All right, let's see statistically what these two teams look like. You've got both teams on an island game, two teams without great pace, 21st and 22nd, but both below average defense at 22 and 16. So, one-offs here galore. There's no doubt. Dinwiddie's cheap at 5'3". He's probably going to get Kemba Walker defense that we know is a big plus. He's 5'9", Kemba, if you want to go that route. Bradley Beal always an option at 9'8". Burks is all the way up to 7'8" on the other side, which is a little high. I think he tipped almost to 8K the other day, but he still gets it done for the Knicks, but is a little pricey. Denny Avdia had a nice game the other day when I played him as my value guy. I don't know if you need him today, but he is 4-2 and should get a decent chunk of minutes for sure. Kuzma at 6'8" has not quite been stepping up recently. And then you got the split between Gafford and Harrell, which, concerns me at the big spots. Julius Randle as a pay up at 10.5, possibly, but not sure that, this game really promotes spending up that high for someone. But, certainly expect him to get the 40 to 50 fantasy points. But is it worth the 10.5? Mitchell Robinson at 6'1" may be a solid play with Noel out. He went crazy the last game, but 6'1's a little high for a guy that can get in foul trouble, as you blink. And he still has Taj Gibson backing him up. And they do play small sometime with Obi Toppin. So not as crazy there. All right, let's go on to the first 8:30 game, the only 8:30 game, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks at the Dallas Mavericks. Milwaukee's a favorite on the road at 5.5, 214 for the total, 109.75 for Milwaukee, 104.25 for the Dallas Mavericks. So we've got a lot of guys to list here because we got a lot of guys out. First of all, we've got Milwaukee on the second night of a back-to-back, so that's an advantage for Dallas. But as far as player personnel, we have Grayson Allen questionable. We have, believe it or not, a probable tag on Dante DiVincenzo. Whoever thought we'd get him back here? So there'll be restrictions, but it really muddies the rotation up there. Sandro Mamu, he is probable. And Bobby Portis looks like could return today. He's probable. So lots of different looks here for Milwaukee. They do have Giannis and Brook Lopez out. So still with Giannis out. Yeah, Brook's more important than Giannis. With Giannis out, it still gives some opportunities here for good plays. However, it's not the slam dunks, that we saw yesterday with Holiday and Middleton. Number one, it's a back-to-back for them. Plus, they have some of these reinforcements back. So that should be interesting. Dallas, it's uglier than you can imagine. Porzingis questionable, and we know that, he's tough as nails. He never misses games when he's dinged up a little bit. Joke, for sure. So he probably won't play. Let's just face it. Amori, their two-way players, also questionable. Then all these guys are out. Bullock, Burke, Cauley-Stein, Doncic, Green, Hardaway, and Kleba. Yikes. So interesting here. It's only a 5.5 point spread. Maybe it stays closer. That really is a secondary team for Dallas. They played great with the subs the last time, so who knows if they can pull another rabbit out of the hat. They do get a second night of a back-to-back for Milwaukee, and they had to travel, so that gives you an edge. But Vegas knows. They have Milwaukee 5.5 point favorite for a reason. Pace-wise, Milwaukee right in the middle of the pack at 15th. Dallas second to the slowest in the league. So that doesn't help matters in this game. Plus, you have two respectable defenses. Milwaukee's 9th, and Dallas has crawled into the top half for the first time. They're 14th. So not a game that just dives off the sheet to me at all. Middleton and Holiday did get it done yesterday. They're still going to be key, but if Allen plays along, you'll have Connaughton, Cousins, Mamu, Nawara, who had a really nice game. George Hill stepped up. They're playing Wesley Matthews. So, and Thanasis, we even had a Thanasis sighting yesterday. So a lot of depth, a lot of rotation. Coach Bud doesn't like to burn his players out on back-to-back. So the pace that Dallas plays, I'm just really not interested in that side of the ball for Milwaukee. I do think that, they could win this game, and I do think they could actually pull away, and that's a concern also, which I think would cost minutes, which helps, for me not really liking either side here. I will say Jalen Brunson is by far the leader on this Dallas squad, but he's 8'5". Who'd ever think you'd see Jalen Brunson at 8'5"? I just don't think I can do that against Drew Holiday defense. Then you've got, a potluck. Sterling Brown. Dorian Finney-Smith is a decent play. He's 5'9". I mean, he's the next man up, really, scoring-wise for this Dallas team. So he would be the guy you'd want to roll the dice on, but that's not exactly super cheap either at 5'9". If Porzingis plays for somehow he does play without restrictions, he is a great play at 9K because they really don't have anywhere else to go with the ball other than Brunson. So, but again, I doubt that he's going to play. If you want to take a shot, Marquise Chris really played well. He's only 3'5". He got decent minutes in his first game. I think he'll get decent minutes again. And I think he's the best center on the Mavs team. How pathetic is that? But I would play Marquise Chris. For me, I'd play him over Dwight Powell, Kleba, Boban, Brown, all those guys. So again, that's just me. So Marquise Chris, definitely going to be on one of my GPPs. I doubt I have the courage to put him into a cash game. It's just way too risky, but he's going to get minutes. Theo Pinson will get some minutes as well. Just, this game to me though is not very palatable with an 11-game slate. So I may go complete blank on this game, at most a one-off with somebody, and that was be it. All right. We have 3 9:00 games. The first one being Oklahoma City at Phoenix. And this is where we have blowout alert issues for sure. You've got a lot of things stacked up against the Thunder here. It's the second night of a back-to-back for Oklahoma City. It's an island game for Phoenix. It's at Phoenix. Vegas has Phoenix a 15-point favorite. You don't see a lot of those anymore. And it's only a 214.5 total. So that definitely raises some flags. Oklahoma City, 99.75 implied. Phoenix is 114.75. So you've got Oklahoma City coming in at 11-19. You have Phoenix coming in at 25-5, which is really amazing considering they were 1-3. So 24-2 in their last 26 games. That's not done very easily in the NBA. The other thing that's not done very easily is not having anybody listed on your injury report. And that's what the Thunder have. They're clean injury report. Nobody's sitting out, nobody hurt. Hard to believe. But again, when you're the youngest team in the NBA, you get a little bit more stamina and fighting off any stuff that comes at you. For Phoenix, it's just Kaminsky, Nader, and Saric. So the Suns have been extremely fortunate as well. So again, you've got a stacked Phoenix team on top of that, possible blowout. This is a game that I think, you can pretty much look past in a lot of ways. First of all, you've got Oklahoma City 20th in pace. Phoenix is third. So it is a big pace down for Phoenix, pace up for Oklahoma City. But defensively, Oklahoma City also 20th there. Phoenix is second. So they should control this game. Very, very tough to figure out if you want any exposure here. Shea is Shai's at 8.7 for Shea, so that's a big number. Chris Paul at 9.1, Booker at 8.6, big number. Ayton at 8.3, and even Giddey's up to 7.5. So I don't think any of those guys are worth it in a game where they could get reduced minutes in a blowout. And so, plus you have the Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back, and they play a lot of guys. Dort at 5.9 is okay. I just don't think it's worth it. They play Williams and Poku and all these guys. Just too risky. On the Phoenix side, if you want to go on the cheaper side with the Mikal Bridges at 5.3 or Jay Crowder at 4.2. Cam Johnson's been playing great at 4.8. He's an option. If you do think it blows out and Cameron Payne gets monster run, he's a terrific points per minute guy. That's a good gamble if you're playing multiple lineups. But this game, possibly my least favorite game on the slate under the circumstances. All right. The next 9 o'clock games, the Minnesota Timberwolves and Utah Jazz. Utah's favored by 10.5. It's a 226 total. So we got a nice big total here. Minnesota 107.75 implied. Utah a big 118.25. So if this game stays close enough, you could have some serious DFS points flying around. For Minnesota, they come in at 15-16. The Jazz are 21-9. Questionable tags for Minnesota on Noel and Reed, guys that are already listed out. Beverly, Edwards, Okogie, Prince, and Vanderbilt. For Utah, you've got 2 questionable tags on Fitz and Oni, and Azubuike is out. So Utah's really avoided these issues as well. You also have both of these teams on an island game. As far as pace, 4th for Minnesota, 12th for Utah. So that's a big plus. That's why you're seeing 226 total. But the defense is solid. Minnesota's all the way up to 12th. Utah is 6th. So that is a bit of a concern. What are we going to see for Minnesota? That's going to be a big question here with a lot of their point guards out. There could be some value that opens up here. But most of it, most of the scoring is going to fall on 2 guys, D'Angelo Russell at 8K and Karl Anthony Towns at 10.6. Certainly both worth considering here. If you want to go the cheaper route, you can feel comfortable, I guess, with Beasley at 5.1 or Jaden McDaniels at 4.3. They're going to get big run in a pretty up-paced game with a large total. So you've got a few options there. Those are the ones I would first focus on. On the Utah side, again, with their regulars in, you're not getting any bumped usage or quote unquote value guys. I mean, Conley's at 6.2, Mitchell at 9.5. They're all priced right. Bogdanovich has been very inconsistent, but 5.2. Same thing with O'Neal. Don't trust him at 4.3. Gobert's a big 9.7. So, yeah, not really thrilled there. I like the 226 total. I just don't like the Utah prices, and they do share the ball a ton. If you do take a stand and want to buy up on Donovan Mitchell, I think it is a good play because I don't see anybody on the other side of the ball that's going to slow him down. He'll probably get some Beasley defense initially. And then, I think really the better plays are on the Minnesota side just because so much is going to fall on Russell and Towns' lap. And then, Beasley and McDaniel should have a nice share for cheaper prices. So I will definitely have some exposure here. Not a stack type of game, but definitely some exposure. All right, next game, the last 9 o'clock game. It's the highest total on the board. It's 228.5. Seems like every night the Charlotte Hornets game, regardless of who they're playing, ends up being the highest total on the board because they don't defend. Charlotte is playing at Denver. Denver's 2.5-point favorite is all. It's a 228.5 total, 113 implied for Charlotte, 115.5 for Denver. So eyes light up. You got to love this one. All kinds of pluses here. Again, I seldom agree with the highest total game being my favorite game, but this is definitely my favorite game for a ton of reasons. The first reason is it's an island game for Charlotte. They have some of their key guys back. And then watching that Nuggets game last night, Malone put in the second string at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And they made a run, cut it to like 8, I believe. And he left him in. He never put the MVP or any of the guys with him back in the game. They completed the fourth quarter. They lost the game, but he rested his Denver guys. So this isn't really a back-to-back that I consider, because the Denver guys did not play their normal minutes. So my number one target on the slate, I faded him yesterday and ended up helping me take down some serious some serious contests. But today I'm going right directly back to him. I think he's going to be pissed. He didn't like sitting. He has leg crossed on the sideline. He was like, let's get back in here. I think he's rested. It's a home game. It's only a 2.5-point spread. Charlotte plays fast, number 2 defense, and dead last in number 2 pace, 30th in defense. So you got to absolutely love that. Denver is the slowest team in the league now. They passed Dallas to be 30th. However, Charlotte will speed them up. It's a massive pace-up game for Denver. Denver, as far as defense, is only 21st. So you got to love this game. Starting with the Joker, I don't care that he's 12-2. There's 25 value plays that you can put in your lineup without even thinking twice about it. So I think he's a key spot to go with Denver. You do have some other options there. Barton at 6'4". He didn't get back into the game yesterday either. Morris at 5'6", Gordon at 5'8". All possibilities, but really Joker's my main target there. On the other side of the ball, interesting LaMelo Ball at 9'9", a big number, but he could have a gigantic game here. This game fits for him. Gordon Hayward at 6'6". Miles Bridges at 7'7" is reasonable now. I do sort of like Miles Bridges a bit here. And then you've got Kelly Oubre down to 5'9". He's starting to get that price back down to where, you can expect good minutes, more than likely off the bench. But I think that, he is within reason for sure. So this game is definitely juicy. I'll have quite a bit of salary involved here. Maybe not a ton of players, but some buy-ups that I think can really do a good job. All right, 2 games, late night sweat games. We have a 10 and a 10:30. We have Memphis at Golden State. Golden State by 6, 216 total, 105 implied for Memphis, 111 for Golden State. Grizzlies come in at 19 and 13. The Warriors 25 and 6. Questionable tags for Memphis: Tyus Jones and John Conchar. And then you've got Aldama, Clark, Merrill, and Williams all out for Memphis. For Golden State, out Iguodala, Lee, Poole, Thompson, Wiggins, Weissman. So they're still feeling the sting of COVID. Statistically speaking, you've got Memphis 7th in the pace in the league and Golden State 8th. So that's a plus. 216 number, a little low. But the reason being is Memphis, reasonable 13th defensively. They've improved quite a bit. Golden State, of course, remains the best defensive team in the league. So where do we look here? Both teams on an island game. That helps. It looks like Ja Morant is back. So is he going to have a minutes restriction? We'll be following that very closely in Discord. So tune us in there. If he doesn't have a restriction at 8'6", he's in play. With him back, it takes a little chunk out of all the rest of these guys. I mean, you can look at these mid-priced, Bane at 6'2", Brooks at 6'8", Jackson at 6'9", or a cheap Adams at 5'2". those guys all, one off of those guys would be sensible. On the Golden State side, you've got an island game for Steph Curry, but he's 11-9. Big number for him. Not sure I want to go there. You got Bane and Brooks to take turns playing a little defense on him. A little bit too pricey for my blood in a game, where you've got some decent defense, even though you've got some good pace. After that, it's where you can find some definite value here, whether it be Peyton at 4.2, Kuminga at 3.6, Porter at 4.8. Those guys all have potential here to dent a lineup as a value guy. Draymond Green at 7.7 is pretty fair, and like the 12th pay down center, Kevon Looney's all the way down to 3.7, and he's going to get minutes. So there are some options there that you can pay down to and make things work. All right, I told you no breaks. We're firing through all 11 games, and this is the 11th. It's a 10:30 game. It's the San Antonio Spurs at the LA Lakers. It's a good DFS game, too. Lakers are only favored by 1. That's how pathetic that they have been lately. 224 is the total, so a really good number there. 111.5 for San Antonio, 112.5 for the Lakers. Spurs come in at 12-18, the Lakers at 16-16. So, yeah, we're saying the Lakers are playing terrible ball, but they're 500. They're weathering the storm. No AD and everything else going on. The Spurs have really been somewhat untouched by COVID. Only Zach Collins is out. He's been out all year. Not so for the Lakers. They've got 2 probables in Trevor Ariza and LeBron James. And then they have a decent amount of guys out. Bazemore, Bradley, AD, Monk, Nunn, and Reeves. So their rotation definitely affected here. Statistically, you've got great pace here. That's why you have the 224 number and why this game, you need some exposure here. Spurs 5th in the league in pace. Lakers now the fastest pace team in the NBA. Defensively, the Spurs below average at 19th. The Lakers have improved immensely at 8th. They have come up from 18th to 8th in the last 3 weeks. So that's something to consider here as well. So what do we look at with the Lakers? We know, when we had the Westbrook James AD situation with the big salaries and the split usage, it was tough. Now that one of them's out, you can definitely consider one of the 2 guys. Westbrook's 10-7, LeBron is 11-3. I think playing one of those 2 guys and having them in that late game in your holster is a nice plus, and I think they're both in really good spots. After that, it really is a crapshoot. If you want to go with THT at 5.2, he's volatile. He's really done great for me, and he's really done terrible. So you've got to think a couple minutes on that one. The other guys that you can at least consider, especially GPP-ish, Wayne Ellington at 3.6, DeAndre Jordan is only 3.7, Carmelo's 4.8, Isaiah Thomas at 4.1. All those guys you can at least talk about. Dwight Howard should be back at 4.4 as well. So you've got some possibilities there, but I think you go with the bigger price guy on that side and just be done with it. On the Spurs side, you have DeJounte Murray at 10.3, Derek White at 6.7. Expensive, but we know those guys can get it done. Certainly playable. Keldon Johnson at 5.7, Jakob Poeltl at 6.6, and Lonnie Walker at 4.3. All can be considered. Devin Vassell is 3.9, but coming off the bench. So, not the best game in the world. Spurs are always, nervous. It's nerve-wracking playing them, but both of these teams are on an island game. And we know everybody, again, is off tomorrow, and then Christmas Day they play. So, if you want to go for, the bullseye here and go with a DeJounte Murray and James, and that's where you have your 2 big spend ups, I can see that really working out here. But you also have, like I say, some of those value plays. Maybe you go a Poeltl and THT, something of that nature. But I think this game is a solid DFS game. I'm definitely going to have some exposure, and I think it may be necessary as the slate wraps up. All right, my friends, that is it. I went through this at warp speed, stayed at right about the 51-minute mark. So I wanted to make sure we had everything in and done within an hour. I know everybody's schedule is absolutely crazy right now. But again, if you're going to play DFS NBA, you need to follow it because there's so many moving parts right now. Let us do all that legwork for you. Go to dfscoachtalk.com and you can sign up right there. If you want to check us out on Twitter or send us a message there, we're at DFS Coach Talk. You can get me directly on Twitter at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. All right, that is it. Big Merry Christmas to everybody out there. If people are traveling and not going to check us out at all for the Christmas Day slate, an early Merry Christmas to you. Safe travels. Have a wonderful holiday. We will have a podcast coming out tomorrow for the Christmas Day card. That'll be myself and Crash doing that. We'll also have a FanDuel Two Brains Are Better Than One GPP lineup built right on that podcast tomorrow for the Christmas Day slate. Again, take advantage of that 12 days of Christmas deal for $12. Best deal we've offered all year, in my opinion. That only lasts until midnight on Christmas Day. So you can get that for the 12 days following after you sign up. And when you sign up with Coach Talk, you get everything that we offer. We don't do sport by sport. Once you're part of the Coach Talk family, you get everything that we offer. So that is it, my friends. Have a wonderful, safe holiday. Hope to catch a lot of you back tomorrow. Christmas Day slate is really my favorite NBA slate of the year. So we'll have a good in-depth coverage there. Hopefully we keep all 5 games intact and we're able to take down some big contests. There's some huge contests in the injury industry. I wouldn't wait till the last minute to sign up for some of them because they do get a ton of action because everything else is pretty much off and it's just the NBA 5-game showcase. So you want to jump on that, reserve those spots, and get involved. So, all right, that is it for the DFS Coach Talk team. I am Joe Sarvadi, affectionately known as Coach. We'll catch you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA DFS.